I'm going to be speaking today with Laura Lupton, who is a co-founder of Galleries Commit in New York. Hi, Laura. As well as an entrepreneur of all sorts when it comes to climate and art initiatives. And she has presented a number of those at our community meetings. As a lot of you will know, Art and Climate Action and Galleries Commit have been working together for about 2 years. I'm going to get started on our presentation. Here we go. Just 1 second. There we go. And key to our collaboration has been the formation of these community meetings. After working together for 2 years, we have witnessed a lot of growing enthusiasm when it comes to sustainability within the arts sector, but we are also recognizing that it can be hard to find an on-ramp when it comes to actually taking action when you work in a gallery, a museum, or another art space. So with that in mind, we are launching Climate Action 8x8, which is a sector-wide commitment to action campaign that will bring together art spaces from across the country as we really actively search for creative, multifaceted, but ultimately effective ways to address our sector's impact on the planet and also on the communities that we value. So first off, I just want to say thank you for being here. We recognize that seeing headlines like the IPCC says we have to have greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 can be intimidating, if not paralyzing. And we appreciate that you've taken the initiative just to be here and to try and figure out how our sector can contribute to achieving these goals. We are hopeful that 8x8 will get us moving in the right direction. Galleries Commit first sort of planted the seed of starting a collaborative campaign directed at commitments to action last spring. And then a number of other groups that you may know about: Art and Climate Action, obviously, Art to Zero, which is based in New York, and Galleries Climate Coalition in LA, specifically the LA branch, joined the conversation. And we soon realized that this could be a sector-wide project. Together, we've created a framework that we think will work for a wide range of art spaces, from commercial to nonprofit, from tiny staffs to large organizations, multi-site businesses with headquarters around the world. We are confident that participation in this campaign will have a meaningful impact in that it will bring climate concerns to the forefront of your organization's thinking and its most routine practices. Laura and I are going to introduce some key aspects of 8x8, but we'll also leave lots of time at the end for questions. And if at 10 o'clock, you know, we like to keep these meetings brief, but if at 10 o'clock you still have questions, we'll do some breakout rooms for more in-depth conversations. So 8x8 is designed around 8 key areas of climate impact. And we're asking participants to complete at least one action in each of these areas. So I'm sure the first question is, why all these categories? The 8 action areas capture both the largest producers of greenhouse gas emissions and waste for most arts organizations, things like energy use in buildings, travel, and shipping. But they also address the broader culture of climate awareness and responsibility that we need to create in our workplaces and also within our broader communities. So in other words, 8x8 is not about reaching a net zero accounting target. It's about changing how we work at a more fundamental level. But that is not to say that participation is going to be daunting. The campaign is designed to be flexible and customizable. The whole point is to create something that makes sense for your team in particular. So for example, we have here a sample plan that could work for a space that's just starting to think about climate action and wants to do something that is attainable and that really gets the conversation going among colleagues. So each of these actions are addressed, but sometimes it's a matter of, say, attending a workshop that we will host, that we will organize about understanding emissions. Maybe you can assess some really simple and low-cost steps to saving emission in your offices, in your buildings, things like making sure lights are turned off if they're not used, or making sure there's no leaks in doors and windows. Ask your shipping company to provide an emissions information on all quotes. That's really one email. Create a travel policy that just says that your staff knows that you want to prioritize low and zero carbon transportation options. Start using things like barter.art. Laura, as a co-founder of Barter, can answer questions about what that is, but basically it's a peer-to-peer sharing resource for installation and shipping materials, things like crates and AV materials. So search there rather than buying new from the get-go. Let your staff know that you are prioritizing climate action and that they should bring concerns and ideas to the table. Offer time off, even if it's a half a day or 1 day a year, to participate in community action, climate justice initiatives. And talk to your fellow galleries, your colleagues about 8x8. Let them know that you're participating in it and that they can do so too. That it's a way to build climate action into your daily activities. So that's a more cohesive look at all of the 8 categories. Again, just to give you a sense of, you can find your entry point, but we're going to dive into a couple of these categories here today as well. So let's look at energy, for example. When you're on one of our websites and you're looking at a campaign page, the 8x8 page, you'll click on a category and you'll find a brief blurb that gives some information about why action in this area matters. So for energy, for example, we know that energy use in buildings, things like electricity use or the burning of fuel in buildings, is a big component of emissions creation for most art businesses and nonprofits. But you will also find their ideas for addressing energy use. And I just want to draw attention to the range of options here. Everything from, again, an educational step, attending a workshop that really might be an introduction to what it even means to decarbonize an existing building. A slightly larger step, install power strips and all-out monitors so that you make sure your offices are running efficiently, all the way through to build a renewable powered microgrid with your neighbors, your neighboring building, obviously a much bigger step. Our suggestions are purposefully broad, from easy to more challenging, because we recognize that every organization has its own capacity in terms of resources, staff, and time. That said, some form of action is possible, whether you're a tiny team working in a rented space or a larger entity with complete control over its facilities. And these are only suggestions. We totally encourage creativity. It's much appreciated. We are offering ideas really to get the gears moving, but you are welcome to formulate your own actions, and please share them. We're learning from each other. And again, to get ideas, get you thinking about what's possible, we've included resources related to each category. So in the energy section, these range from general reference materials to link to local government entities or nonprofits that offer guidance, rebates, financial incentives for energy savings. We encourage everyone to be ambitious, but also realistic. Choose an action that could be implemented in about 3 to 6 months. Participation in 8x8 is about pushing ourselves, no doubt, but follow through is absolutely key. All right, Laura, I'm going to turn it over to you for workers.
Hi, I'm Laura Lipton. Some of you have probably seen me before on these meetings. And also my colleague Andrew is here, who is supposed to pay attention to see if my internet cuts out and if you can hear me. So Andrew, let me know if you need to take over if my internet's not great. But we wanted to call out a couple of sections in addition to kind of walking through the resources for energy and talk specifically about supporting workers. This entire campaign is designed in a way to be sustainable for our teams to actually be able to work on. As a worker-led initiative from Galleries Commit, then I think that it's been critical for all of us to build campaigns around climate action that center the people that are actually going to have to implement that, and empower the people that are working on those campaigns to want to take action, to just feel more supported in taking climate action. So supporting workers is a category of climate action that may need to be like maybe the most important and first thing to address, ensuring that your team's resources are not being over extracted contributes to cultures of not over extracting the planet's resources or other resources as well. So really figuring out how to approach the 8x8 climate action plan in a way that your team can achieve, feel supported in achieving, and prioritizes something that works for them. The other component of that, Jody, if you want to go to the next slide, is tying into collective action. We are not, I think you skipped one slide.
Sorry.
Yeah. Tying to collective action. We're not all acting in a vacuum. The scale of the climate crisis is something that is an existential threat that threatens all of us, and finding ways to actually engage our responses to that in a way that builds a community and builds a movement within the sector, that in itself is a necessary and critical climate action step to create a systems-wise shift in the sector. So approaching the climate action plans in a way that actually encourages community building, collaboration, and building out to network and expand your impact. So thinking about how your climate action 8x8 plan can tie into these larger networks. We are part of the Visual Arts PACT, both Art and Climate Action, Art to Zero, Gallery Climate Coalition, and Galleries Commit are all members of that, as well as some other organizations like Key Culture, which focuses on some museum support, Art Switch, Art to Acres. All of those, it's a great network to be able to tie into finding support or collaborate with your community. There's also other spaces that might be your local community, your local network, some of the global climate movements that are happening, but especially just reaching out to other organizations on your block, in your city, in a similar sector, and bringing those people into conversation with you to talk about how we can actually move forward in these climate conversations as a team, working together to support ourselves to shift expectations and make these conversations not just accepted, but really expected within the sector in the way we're approaching things. We can talk more about that. I think there's going to be a Q&A at the end, but Jody, maybe you want to talk a little more about the nuts and bolts of how the participation actually works.
Sure. So we're at an early stage. We're obviously just launching this campaign, and we understand that it'll take a little bit of time to formulate a plan that works for you. So if you are dedicated to participating, awesome, please sign up ideally by the end of the year. You can find that sign up form on either the Galleries Commit website or the Art and Climate Action website. We will pop those into the chat. It's easy enough. Then we're asking that you submit your plan again through those same websites by the end of March of next year. So you have time to think, you have time to formulate, keep joining these community meetings. We'll have lots of resources that will help you think about those plans. And then again, this is meant to be 6 months of action. So ideally by September of 2023, you will have completed your plan. And we're asking that you share information about how the implementation of that plan went by the end of the year. If something went fantastically well, obviously we want to hear about that. If it didn't go so well, we want to hear about that too. Again, like we're all learning from each other. And we're also encouraging everyone to let your colleagues and communities know that you're taking these actions. So post to your website, post to your social media account using the hashtag climate8x8. You're also welcome to use our logo so that we are building this library of collective action within the art world, letting people know that we're taking this seriously, not just in a theoretical way, but in an active way. So again, those dates will clearly be posted on our websites, and we are happy to have conversations about the best way to formulate a plan between now and the end of March. But let's open things up for questions a little bit. Does anyone have a question right away? I'm going to stop sharing. Everyone is ready to go. This is exactly what we want.
I have a question, Jody. What if my gallery wants to participate, but feels like we don't know where to start or how to kind of engage in the overall plan? What would you recommend as a first step to starting a conversation?
Well, if it feels like too much to send out, say, an institution-wide email saying, everyone, don't you think we should do this? And then you're met with radio silence or ambivalence or just, oh my, that seems scary. I would say pick your moments. So there is always going to be a conversation of best practices when it comes to shipping, or, hey, can we turn the lights out? Like, pick our moments. Take one action at a time in order to start building a bigger conversation. And then, yes, at some point, you're going to have an opportunity to address, like, we're already doing some of these things. We can be more ambitious. Let's be part of this conversation. It's already going on in our spaces, or it should be. Find your allies within your institution. And if those don't exist, you're welcome to find allies within our organizations and just see how you can sort of try and create a snowball little by little. What about you, Laura? What would you do?
I think that one thing that's been effective, so we already do have some galleries and arts organizations across the country signed on. There's about a dozen people committed to date. So anybody on this call signs on, you will not be alone. You'll be in very good company. And I think one thing that's been really effective in some of those conversations that have happened already are whoever is the person on staff who is interested in engaging in the conversation first. Take a look at the suggested action plan, the suggested actions that we have listed out on the website, and think about what the space is already doing and what seems most relevant or achievable. Presenting the possibility of a plan where you actually look at those actions and you're like, oh, our team could actually implement this entire thing by sending 3 emails and attending 4 half-hour workshops, becomes a much less overwhelming prospect while still being a really impactful climate action, because it's bringing your team into a conversation and a mindset that this is a priority. Mm-hmm. So putting together kind of like a suggested plan of like, oh, we could participate in this really impactful sector-wide initiative. This is all we would have to do that. And then maybe once that conversation starts, you can actually add on some more ambitious plans, or go ahead and just fulfill that as is, and set the ground with maybe more ambitious action moving forward. I'm on a project site right now, so sorry for the construction noise.
For those of you who are thinking about this and who are thinking about addressing or bringing up a conversation with your colleagues, are there any key concerns that immediately come to mind that we can help sort of think through, troubleshoot?
I have a question. I am wondering if anybody has experience meeting resistance with coworkers or people at higher organizational level around these conversations, and what would be a good strategy in that situation.
So one of the questions that continually comes up that we are trying to navigate with this campaign is, this sounds great. I would love to be able to do it, but I just don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I can't add one more thing to my to-do list. And that I completely respect that. I think everyone working in the arts feels that more often than not. And so I think, again, bringing up that this is designed to be something that they can take on. This isn't a all or nothing endeavor. Like, we would love for, if an energy lift feels really hard, maybe support workers or collective action doesn't. You can be ambitious in some areas and just do what you can in others. So the flexibility built into it can hopefully cut down on some of that, just like, nope, I can't do it. I'm too exhausted. I don't have time or energy for this. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think that I'll reiterate there also, again, like, that's one of the reasons why it's really critical to the approach that supporting workers is one of the top priorities. We don't want this to be something that is putting an added demand on team labor. It should be framed as something that's an invitation to people who want to be considering these conversations in their day-to-day workplace and creating a structure and a framework where that's possible. If people on the team are not interested, then don't force them to do something they don't want to do. If there are other people that are excited and they're if you're excited, or there's like a small coterie of people that do want to take action, talk amongst those people, like what could the plan be that only requires our work around this, and the entire team can kind of get credit and for participating and be part of the dialogue. But like, how can we structure this so that the actions that we're taking are actually only demanding extra work from the people that already are on board and want to incorporate those into their conversations. I think that it's totally, I think it's totally possible for all 8 actions, like the entire climate action plan, to be addressed by one action under support workers, which is like slow down the schedule or readdress what the like staff operation support structure is to allow for action to be taken in any of these other categories. Like your action for measuring emissions is find a way to make sure workers are supported to pay attention to measuring emissions. Like it's all of this work is really dependent on a culture of caretaking within our teams in order to promote a culture of caretaking with the external world.
And also, it's not that every team member needs to act on all 8 categories. You know, maybe one person takes on the shipping, writing that email to your shipper saying we want emissions information. Maybe one person is in charge of, I don't know, making sure that there are vegetarian options at all events with staff members. Another person might be looking at what might be the options for switching to renewable energy sources for your particular space. It could be a team effort so that there is action across all 8 categories, but not everyone has to do every single one. I think that's important. Right? Why is it called 8x8? Question came in. First off, the 8 different categories of action, and then we've just made 8 suggestions within them, within each of those actions. So an easy framework to remember that both we're looking for a holistic approach to climate action with the 8 different categories, and then you're going to find a wealth of suggestions of potential actions within them. I'm going to assume everyone's brains are churning.
I have one question, Jody.
Sure.
I mean, this is a bit of a plant question because I have been working with you and Laura and other people developing this initiative, but I mean, something that I've been thinking about, and maybe it's just a beneficial question to ask for other people, but so I'm working on developing a plan within my gallery, which is it's a relatively small gallery in New York. And I do foresee that, if we're going to make a pretty ambitious plan, we may need some support down the line in realizing some of our commitments. And while on the one hand, I know that, we could potentially just like make a less ambitious plan, things that are immediately achievable. But if we want to actually try to like scale up to really create a challenge for our staff, like what kind of support is there for us down the line?
Right. Absolutely. So no one is out there alone in this endeavor. We have designed the plan specifically to be self-directed. In other words, we are not coming in as climate consultants to tell you what to do and then leave, and who knows what happens after that. The most meaningful climate action we know is motivated from within, assessed and implemented from within. And so that's why there's so much leniency or flexibility when it comes to devising your plan. But again, we are here. So you are welcome to both attend our monthly meetings, in which we're going to be addressing aspects of each of the 8 categories moving forth over the course of the rest of this year and into 2023. We will have examples of plans that early adopters of 8x8 have come up with. So again, examples of what other people are doing, just to give you a sense of what's possible. And you are also, within those monthly meetings, we will have breakout sessions at the end, 15-minute breakout sessions. Right now, we're thinking about them as a California session and a New York session, just because some of the answers to questions are very local. but that's a place for finding answers or solutions or inspiration as well. And you're always welcome to reach out directly to Galleries Commit, Art and Climate Action, Art to Zero, and GCCLA with specific questions. And we will try to find solutions. And if not, we will direct you to people who will have those answers.
Thank you.
You're
That's very
welcome.
helpful.
Yeah, my only addition to that is to reiterate that we are really trying to create a community within all of you that participate, to have like an opportunity for like I'll be helping the New York City galleries so that we're not each just kind of making these in a void, but we're also aware of what the other galleries in New York City are doing and having conversations about that. And there's also, I think, some growing opportunities for support in the field in general if the gallery is interested, and kind of going more in depth with a consultant or someone that can work in a more handheld tailored way. And both Jody and I are pretty well versed in what those resources are. So that's also by reaching out to any of the partner organizations, we can kind of point you in the right direction.
As you all are thinking, please reach out to us. I am happy to stay on now if anyone is feeling shy and would like to speak in one of our breakout rooms, that would be great. Or we can just keep the conversation going outside of Zoom. That works too. And next month we will have more information about how plans are moving along. Hopefully some announcements of public announcements of who our early adopters are. I know they're already formulating plans, which is exciting. And we'll take it from there. Thank you.